This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
I see the darkness all around, trying to find my way out, trying to find my way out. My heart, it wanders through the night, searching for the starlight, searching for the starlight.
Rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, it does not matter who the host is, because it never has and it never will. Anyways, how are you? I hope everything is good and grand inside of your neck of the woods as we are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday, March the 5th of 2024. And it's only day 65 of the year and only 301 days left to go. Oh, what a great thing to look at. Only how there's 301 days left to go. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM and hanging out with the friends over there.
We are radio. We are sarcasm. We are both combined.
Yes, radio and sarcasm is the best thing of Radio Big over there. No doubt about that. So if you are hanging with us for the first time, hi, how are you? Let's talk about what we do here. We talk about safety. We talk about the news. We talk about news and safety. Combination of all things, we do a level of a main story, and then we kind of come back and do it all over again. All the fun stuff. You know, the stuff that we get to do. If you want to interact with the show, not a problem. Callinradio.com will get you here. Video, audio, and text messaging all available right there once you get there. It does require some information as it moves you through the system. So there you go. We're also on different social media platforms. Terrible at checking them, but we're there in regards of what this live version is going on, where you get to see some video aspects. If not, you can always come to the website, safetyfm.com, and click on the section that says Visual Radio. It is probably the best way to get you there now. It wasn't at one point, but it seems to be now. So there you go. That's what we got for you. So as we go into the world today and do all of our interactions, this show was built off of a rant show where people called in and ranted about the things that they were pissed off about at work. Then that changed as life has moved forward in regards of everything. So with that being said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little information in finding out on what the hell was trending in the overnight, because I think that those things are important for us to be able to talk about.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so as I look at the trends of the ends, Haiti is in chaos, and Elon Musk manages another lawsuit. We'll talk about that as we get into the hit list. Also, Taylor Swift is related to a fellow wordsmith. We'll talk about that as we get into show business. Dune Part 2 is a big splash in the domestic box office, and Jamie Foxx returns to beat Shazam. Yeah, I said that. And then long live the future queen. We'll talk about that in the details as we get into the Royales and not with cheese, just so you know. So I got Mark Mayfield waiting in the wing, wanting to talk to you a little bit about what the hell's going on in the news. So why don't we go ahead and do that?
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Today is Super Tuesday, the biggest day of the 2024 election nominating cycle. Results will be announced in 16 states and American Samoa. It's a big day for former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who so far has only won one Republican contest in Washington, D.C. The number of delegates on the table will be big boosts for the winners. Former President Trump and President Biden are the favored frontrunners. Former President Trump says a ruling to keep him on the Colorado ballot will unify the country. Speaking with Sean Hannity, Trump said the high court shut down Colorado's efforts.
A lot of states challenging. You couldn't run a country that way. So they took everything off the table, a very strong decision, actually. Everything is off the table, and they just don't have the right to do that.
The high court said Colorado can't remove him over claims he was an insurrectionist, effectively stopping more states from trying to do the same. Speaking from Florida, Trump said he's dealing with out-of-control judges and rogue prosecutors. He went on to urge the Supreme Court to rule in his favor regarding his upcoming presidential immunity case. Trump claims he cannot be prosecuted for any alleged crimes he committed while in office. The FAA's audit of Boeing has found multiple issues with the manufacturer's production practices. Lisa Taylor reports.
The 6-week probe comes after a door plug blew out on an Alaska Airlines flight in January. The FAA said in a press release that it found non-compliance issues in Boeing's manufacturing process control, parts handling and storage, and product control. Another separate report released last month from before the door plug incident also said it found gaps in the company's safety culture, including fears in workers about retaliation for reporting safety concerns. I'm Lisa Taylor.
And British royalty will be headlining the opening day of the South by Southwest Festival in Austin. Meghan Markle is part of a keynote panel alongside Katie Couric and Brooke Shields. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict says it believes women were raped during the October the 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. It's Super Tuesday in the race for the White House. China's set an economic growth target of 5% for 2024 as its annual National People's Congress gets underway. And former Twitter executives fired by Elon Musk have filed a lawsuit accusing the billionaire of owing them more than $128 million in severance pay.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
Concern over President Biden's age is growing among voters. Natalie Migliori has more.
A New York Times Siena poll reveals 47% of voters strongly agree President Biden, who's 81, is too old to be an effective president. That's in addition to the 26% who somewhat agree with that statement.
You know, he just don't look like he's alert. People got to guide him when he's walking.
I don't see him making good decisions. You know, I don't think his mental state is there. Maybe he has Alzheimer's or something.
And aside from age, Biden's struggling to quell doubts about his leadership within his own party. It comes after an explosive report from a special counsel described Biden as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I'm Natalie Migliori.
Wyoming lawmakers have passed a bill that would add regulations to surgical and chemical abortions at the state's last remaining abortion clinic. The new bill, expected to be signed into law this month, would reclassify abortion clinics as ambulatory surgical centers. That would require doctors who perform abortions to be licensed and add criminal penalties for violations. The state passed 2 bans last year on abortion and the use of an abortion pill, both of which are under injunction pending an April court hearing. France is now the first country in the world to make abortion a constitutional right. Brian Shook has a story.
The French Parliament voted 780 to 72 in favor of the measure that amends the French Constitution. Efforts to guarantee the right for abortion in France started as a response to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in 2022. Before the vote, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said, above all, we're sending a message to all women. Your body belongs to you. I'm Brian Shook.
And NFL star Jason Kelce is retiring. He made the announcement Monday at a news conference in Philadelphia. He was drafted in 2011 in the 6th round of the NFL draft by the Eagles and played 13 seasons for the team. Kelce helped the team win Super Bowl 52. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
I know you all want to hit your revenue targets and get the launch done. Well, making sure that your team knows what to do and how to do it is a huge part of it. So I'm sure that you all do different kinds of training, and I'm willing to bet that you probably use PowerPoint, Zoom, etc. I also bet that when you get someone droning on about a topic using these tools, you probably zone out, and your team does too. I mean, it is a reality of what happens. That's why I strongly recommend a tool called Articulate 360. That makes it so easy to whip together interactive, really beautiful e-learnings that really engages people and gets info across. You can create short-form micro-learning, super interactive courses, and really whatever you need when you're in their site. Then with a couple of clicks, you can send it out and check on it and see the progress of your team. Your team can also check back on the training anytime they want in a super simple portal. Literally everyone uses Articulate. Over 120,000 companies and all 100 Fortune 100 companies. Check it out at articulate.com/360 to start a free trial. That's articulate.com/360 to start your free trial. And don't forget to tell them that I was the one that sent you there.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 14 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely, lovely Tuesday, which I wanted to call a Monday, even though I've been waking ever since I woke up. I keep on thinking that it's Wednesday. So there you go. Well, That's what happens. Anyway, so let's talk about what's going on inside of regards to the level of the shit list, because that's what we do around here. The country of Haiti is in a state of civil war following the escape of an estimated 4,000 inmates from prison facility over the weekend. Gangs under the command of gang lord Jimmy Barbecue Chestier? Yeah, there you go. Reportedly led the jailbreak, and he earned the nickname for the affinity of burning his victims alive. The Sun reports that 200 violent gangs now control most of the area of where the county is, or where the country's capital is located. The surge in violence activity came as Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry, as in Kenya, to negotiate military assistance to stabilize the cities, even before things got worse. So far, there are no realistic or formal demands from the gang factions, and the chaos at this point is ongoing for now. This is according to the Sun and to the Guardian. So what do you think? I always kind of look at this and go, it's interesting on how that continent is split, and the huge differential between the two sections. Should I say continent? Should I say the land, the property? I mean, however you want to look at it. So there you go. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a strange one every time that we talk about it. Anyways, another lawsuit for Elon Musk. This time, 4 executives ousted when Musk bought Twitter, now known as X, in 2022, are suing for $128 million in severance compensation that they said they never received. The plaintiffs include company's former CEO, CFO, chief legal officer, and general counsel. At this time of their dismissal, termination paperwork cited gross negligence and willful misconduct as the reasons for their firing without specific examples. Another suit filed last summer is seeking class action status for additional severance to be paid to the rank and file who were let go after Musk acquisitions. Musk reportedly fired up to 3/4 of the company workforce. This is according to CNN. So he came in, bought a company, and fired everybody. Or 75%, if that helps you, in regards of what's going on. Did he do the right thing? Did he do the wrong thing? I mean, I don't know. It is so difficult to answer those questions nowadays. Because who knows what the right thing is? Who knows what the wrong thing was? Apparently, there was a cultural change that they wanted there, and, that's what they did.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. The European Union made official news that first leaked a few weeks ago that Apple would have to pay a fine of $2 billion for its antitrust competitive management of its App Store. The complaint came from music streaming competitor Spotify, which alleged that in 2020 that Apple's practices limit their ability to compete against their own music app and library on price alone. In a statement, Apple said that it intends to appeal the decision and said that the EU did not show any credible evidence to support the fine. This is according to The Verge. So, I mean, let's talk about this, because this is where it always gets weird. You have a competitor product that goes on there onto your app store, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, I'm going to sell mine in one format that's going to, I guess, put me in a better place, as the competitors complaining that it's not such a good place for them. I mean, that's kind of a weird one. I mean, think about it for a moment. I mean, are you going to let your competitor come into your house, to your establishment, and say, okay, we're going to give you a better placement? No, I just don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's the best practice, but just think about it. So there you go. Archaeologists studying the ruins in Pompeii announced that they discovered a very well preserved and colorful item inside of the ancient mansion called the House of Leda. One of the works is it's an ancient Greek myth that's there. Other discoveries include portraits of a woman and still life images. Work is underway to fully excavate and clean the House of Leda, which plans to reconstruct what would have looked like before the eruption that occurred there in 79 AD and buried the city in ash. So, this is according to CBS News. I don't know how I feel about some of that stuff. It's kind of a weird thing to go look for. So once you find it, what are you going to do? I mean, seriously. I know. Rough one. Anyway, in a 1945 report, the development of the atomic bomb has hit the auction block. RR Auction is behind the sale of the atomic bomb, a general account of the development of the methods of using atomic energy for military purposes under the auspices of the United States government, 1940-1945, written by Henry D. Smith. Yeah, so making the document more valuable, it's signed by 24 of the Manhattan Project's contributors, including R.J. Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, Ernest Lawrence, James Chadwick, Harold Ursi, and Isidore I. Rabbi. So the doc is expected to fetch about $25,000. History lesson: the creation of a nuclear bomb in the United States culminated with successful tests of the doomsday weapon in July of 1945. Weeks later, the bomb would be dropped in Hiroshima, putting the end to World War II. So there you go. If you want to kind of know some more, that's what we got there for you. So there you go. Anyways, NFL reporter Chris Mortensen has died. He passed away on Sunday morning, according to ESPN. No other details were shared. Mortensen covered football for decades at ESPN and was easily one of the most recognized faces in the sports world. Yeah, I was kind of shocked to hear this yesterday in regards of his passing. You know, you look at some of these things at times, and you never expect like that certain things are going to happen. You know, Chris Mortensen was not a person that I sat around and was like, hey, you know, this guy's not going to make it. Sit around and I look at this and go, I'm always in shock when you take a look at and hear some of these things, because it's like you never expect these things to happen. I know. This is still my my naivety when it comes to certain things in that aspect. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk about some things that you're going to want to hear about. Let's talk about some money. So we'll talk about some money matters, because we have some Aaron Royale waiting in the wings to talk to you about it.
A pair of investment firms are raising their buyout offer for Macy's. Silvana Anau reports.
Arthouse Management and Brigade Capital are now offering to buy the department store chain and take it private for $6.6 billion. Now, they made their initial offer in December, but Macy's rejected it as too low on concerns about the deal's financings. Macy's has struggled to compete against smaller online competitors or rivals with smaller brick and mortar footprints. Last week, it announced it would close 150 stores.
Filing simple taxes is about to get easier and cheaper for many folks. Natalie Rodriguez explains.
The IRS's pilot program, Direct File, kicks off in Florida, Arizona, California, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming.
If the Direct File pilot program is not the right fit, then taxpayers can simply choose another option to file their return.
The IRS's Alejandra Castro says primarily Direct File is an option for taxpayers who use a standard deduction in both the student loan interest and educator expenses deductions. It is not for those who itemize deductions.
European regulators are hitting Apple with a huge fine over its music streaming service. Rory O'Neill has more.
The fine is worth nearly $2 billion. The European Commission says Apple abused its position as a top distributor of music streaming apps. A 5-year investigation found Apple would impose restrictions on app developers, preventing them from informing iPhone and iPad users of alternative music subscription services outside of the App Store. The fine comes as the EU increases scrutiny of big tech firms.
Budget airlines JetBlue and Spirit are agreeing to terminate their planned merger. This comes after a federal judge blocked the $3.8 billion agreement. The judge agreed with the Department of Justice argument that the merger would reduce competition and hurt consumers. Consumer and Business News, Aaron Royale, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Aaron, for that information right there on the things that are going on inside of the world, because, hey, we want to know what's going on. Let me tell you what I was able to locate with some of the limited information that I had. The Dow lost about 97 points to close at 38,989 on Monday. The S&P lost about 6 points to close at 5,130. And the NASDAQ lost about 67 points to close at 16,207. West Texas Intermediate closed at $78 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $82 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.35, and Bitcoin has achieved an all-time high, surpassing the 64,000 mark. A peak in November of 2021 was trading over $68,000. So there you go, by Monday evening. So there you go. It has surpassed it. I remember when it was sticking around 21.5. Yeah, it was there for quite some time. We used to talk about it all the time. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Tonight's Mega Million drawing will be for, you ready for this? $650 million jackpot or a $300.86 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, it's all about the game. So there you go. So you have the opportunity to do so. So there you go, right there. Yeah, moving and grooving. I mean, that's what we do. Move and groove. Okay, so let's talk about some things that are going on real quick. Let's go into Clinton Township down in Michigan. Or should I say up in Michigan because I'm down in Florida. A huge industrial fire burning in Clinton Township. Macomb County Executive Mark Hakel says that it took a while for the firefighters to get access and get the fire tamed.
Bigger concern right now is obviously they're taming the fire, but now what's going on with that air quality, the concerns they have in there. We have a hazmat unit that's out trying to test the air quality so we can give further updates not only through the media but directly to the public as to what's happening.
Okay, the fire is at the distribution plant 15-mile road and Grosbeck Highway. An explosion has been often from flames, and then shrapnel has been falling from the sky. The explosion sounds like gunfire, and at least 8 different fire departments fought the fire that started around 9 p.m. So Mark Hakel also says that they don't know yet what was burning.
It's going to take the fire department some time to figure out exactly what took place here, what is inside the facility. I don't think anybody really knows that yet. We heard from Bob Cannon, the supervisor out there earlier. They're trying to make that determination, but they can't until the fire's out.
Yep, unholy burning. So there you go, some unholy passion right there for you. The former Packard plant that will be mostly gone by the end of the year after decades in blight. Mayor Mike Duggan from Detroit, Michigan, says that the factory has been a weight around the neck of the city for years.
It's not enough to knock things down. And so our economic development department in the next 2 months is going to be putting out proposals for a new auto supplier for this site.
The city plans to redevelop the old factory into an automotive supplier. And Duggan says that the last yard from the General Motors Factory Zero is being built for electric vehicles. One portion of the old Packard Bell plant will be saved. So also the mayor said that Washington, D.C. gets a lot of credit for the Packard plant demolition.
Because of Joe Biden and the American Rescue Plan, Detroit has resources that we've never had.
So there you go. Some stuff right there. Yeah, it sounds like it's keeping it crazy over there in Michigan. So with that being said, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the road to the White House because, Super Tuesday is among us.
Road to the White House 2024. As Super Tuesday voting begins, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley says the GOP primary is about the direction of the party. Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, the former South Carolina governor criticized former President Trump's time in the Oval Office.
Are we going to go where you had Donald Trump? He grew government. He didn't reduce the size of government. He put us $8 trillion in debt in just 4 years, more than any other president.
Haley added Trump wants the U.S. to act like an isolationist state. Meantime, the largest number of states will be holding presidential primaries or caucuses today. Over a third of all the available delegates are at stake. In Washington, I'm Brian Shook.
Okay, thank you, Brian Shook, for that one right there. No doubt about that. Take a listen to this. The San Diego Unified School District expected to vote today on whether to cut more than 400 jobs. The district says that all the cash from COVID release has stopped flowing and now nearly $94 million in the hole. This means that San Diego United has to tighten their belt, and officials say that they'll have to do that with some layoffs.
It really is going through line by line by line in our budget and thinking about what do these dollars mean for our kids? Where can we afford to cut and where can't we?
Okay, school board president Shana Hassan says that members are practicing values-based budgeting. It's not just teachers, police officers, and dispatchers could be laid off as well. Even the district's only locksmith could be shown the door. So very interesting times over there. No doubt about that. Take a listen to this coming out of New York. New York, a Manhattan woman found guilty Monday of stabbing her downstairs neighbor to death inside of the Upper West Side apartment building in 2018. Andrew Whitman reports.
A Manhattan jury Monday finding Anya Johnston guilty of second-degree murder for the killing of 70-year-old Susan Trott. Police found Trott's body nearly 4 days after her murder, following a trail of blood from her living room to her bedroom. Johnston's attorneys claim she was not in her right state of mind at the time, noting she had stopped taking her medications a month before the murder. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
I mean, what in the hell has to be going on where you're so pissed off that you say, hey, I'm going to go downstairs and take out my neighbor? I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's a weird one to me. That's for sure. Anyways, the Maryland Senate has passed a version of juvenile justice reform on Monday night. Montgomery County Senator Will Smith, not that Will Smith, is one of the sponsors of the bill.
It holds the entire system accountable. And now we're going to have a commission that takes oversight and looks at the Department of Juvenile Services, reports on what they're doing, identifies gaps in services, and then makes recommendations on a continual basis.
Okay, the legislation passed the vote 43-2 with Baltimore City Senator Jill Carter and Baltimore County Senator Charles Sidner voting against it. Sidner says that he could vote on the measure because there are provisions in the House bills that I'd like to see the Senate version. The measure gives judges the discretion to extend probational periods for juveniles and increases the number of charges children between the ages of 10 to 12 can face, including firearms and third-degree sex offenses. The House of Delegates approved the version, and the measures on Friday, differences in the legislation must be worked out before the final bill can be sent to the governor. So there you go. Take a listen to what else Will Smith had to say.
They have a first-time diversionary program, and then you're still within delinquency jurisdiction. We have mandatory sins throughout, so that's a difference. I don't think any of it's insurmountable, but it is a distinct, it's a very big difference.
Okay, and Charles Sidner said why he voted against.
As I was telling my colleagues, I can't put a green vote up there if there are things that I'm seeing in the bill across the street that I'd like to see in our bill. You just can't do that.
Okay, so there you go. Some information for you right there. What else do we got? Let's see. Do you want to talk about loan denials real quick? Do we want to talk about this? Let's do this. So one more before we go into the other side. Half of all loan applications, whether for home mortgages, car loans, or other financing, have been denied by lenders. Trey Thomas has more.
Bank rate analyst Sarah Foster says this trend started about 2 years ago.
Since March 2022, which is when the Fed first began raising interest rates to fight this round of inflation, they have been denied, and 17% of them have faced more than one denial.
Foster says a monthly payment on a $500,000 home loan today would be 62% more than when rates were at historic lows. I'm Troy Thomas.
What a time to be alive. Oh, that's how we do the other show now that I think about it. Anyways, it is past that time to do that thing that we get to do around here. So why not do the thing, doing that thing you do? Isn't that how that song goes? I think.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so who wants to join main story time here? Because I think it's time to have a bit. No, that's something else. Okay, so let's go into this. Let's talk a little bit. Let's hang out. Let's move. Let's groove. Let's get into some of the information of the world that you live in. So, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was very intrigued, and I will say that the person that I was having this discussion with, they're in the high reliability realm, HRO, that kind of fun stuff. And I was talking to them, and I want to make sure that I kind of backtrack a little bit. Frontline employee in regards of doing the work that needs to be done, heavily involved with architectural type, builder type, all this other stuff that has all these other moving parts, but we will say frontline general knowledge in regards that can help out in a whole bunch of different aspects. If you listen to the Sam Goodman show, the Hop Nerd, he normally refers to these kind of people in regards of safety fix it. This would be HRO fix it, okay? Maybe that's the way to look at it. So this particular person I'm talking to, they're telling me that they have been doing essentially hours among hours of work to get certain portions done to make sure that this organization is able to move forward with this thing that they're trying to push out. And as they're going through the process, they're doing all the work. They're making sure that things are moving forward. But as you know, some frontline employees are not salary. What they are hourly employees. And what normally comes associated with that, well, old school format is you go clock in, clock out, and that's the way that it works. Well, in this new reality that we're in, some people get to turn in their hours at the end of the week. So, person's telling me they submit the hours. All of a sudden, they forgot to hit they processed the hours, but forgot to hit the submit button. Boom. So once the week comes around, so Friday this is supposed to be done, Monday comes around, and all of a sudden there is the hooping and hollering of you did not turn in your hours. There is the hooping and hollering that their direct boss says, hey, listen, I try to get this cleared through the system. I can't clear it. But their boss's boss comes back and says, what in the hell are you doing out there? This is a mark against you in regards of what you're doing. If this was to happen again, there will be a permanent record inside of your file. Now, keep in mind, this employee has been at this organization. Well, I think, if I remember correctly, they had told me 3 years. And this is the first event that has occurred. They're working there with this project going on around 60 some odd hours a week. And this is what they're told. Now, listen, I am a big believer in error is normal. And of course, how management's response matters, especially if you're an employee. So think about this for a moment. You're all of a sudden this frontline employee. You're working your ass off in regards to getting stuff done. And your boss's boss, which I would imagine to some extent must know something about what you do, turns around with this. How are you feeling? And here's the thing that we tend to forget about. As you do the work that you do, and I do the work that I do, the thing that might seem the most minute to us in regards of what we're doing can have a large impact on the other person. Now, I want you to think about this. How do you think this frontline employee feels now? They've been doing all this other work, and all of a sudden, there is this error that occurs. Now, throughout your career, let's talk about some of the things that you've messed up on. And I mean, everybody knows how much I mess up on stuff. If you listen to this show, you know it's a small cluster of stuff that comes about. But I want you to think about this. The impact of you having an error in how somebody responds inside of that system. So when you do this as a manager, a team lead, whatever the hell you want to call it, think about how those things impact the people around you. That's it. I mean, think about it. There is such a huge discrepancy sometimes in regards of one place to another. If you want to get the best out of your team, well, first I'd probably tell you read Simple Revolutionary Acts, but treat them as you would want to be treated. Boy, isn't that something to really give some consideration? I mean, have you ever heard of that before? How difficult.
Oops. What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Let me talk to you real quick. What is HelloFresh? With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Spend your time this month shopping for gifts and sipping cocoa, not stuck at the checkout line. Sign up for HelloFresh and get everything you need to whip up a fresh, tasty meal delivered to your door. Just choose your recipes, select a delivery date, and relax knowing the dinner's on its way. HelloFresh has over 45 recipes and more than 100 seasonal add-on items to choose from every week, so it's easier than ever to find something everyone will enjoy. Go to HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free. That's HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free to use the code SafetyFM-free for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free with code SafetyFM-free. And don't forget that this is why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show. Self-implode on our airwaves. Only on Safety FM.
Okay, there you go. 44 minutes past the top of the hour. You are still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show. Yep, it's still lovely Tuesday. Yeah, that didn't change. If not, we would have probably been here for a very long time together. You know, I'm so glad we get to do this in and out Monday through Friday. The Hang. Okay, so this right here that you're listening to, it's called Shadows. This is by Young Charlie. Good times this morning taking a listen to some Shadow stuff. So there you go. Hanging out, doing our thing. You can download this one, stream it however you want to do it. Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music. Some good times. So with that being said, good music always has it goes around here. You know what keeps on coming up, and I have to reference this. A few years ago, we talked about a destination place in regards of doing one of these safety talks. And we were talking about at the time going out of the country. For some reason, I still get emails off and on about that. If you remember, there was this thing that happened called COVID, which kind of put a wham bam on it. But I guess if we start talking about conferences and different things, I will probably tell you, probably be on the lookout. I'll probably know more by this week. And also, I have some other news that I need to share with you, but it's not finalized yet, so I don't want to start blabbing about it. I mean, I should say it's finalized. It's just not there yet. Yeah. But talk about jargon talk. Anyways, thank you to Young Charlie for allowing us to play this here, because always it's a good time. So let's do this. So let's go ahead and bring this down a little bit, and let's talk about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and this is not a joke as I say this. No, seriously. When I start talking about this stuff, you know, and I know that it's important, because, I mean, I'm just not going to jabber-abber here. But let's talk about my friends at To Right Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. And To Right Love on Her Arms wants you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. So if you want to find out more information, TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com. That's To Right Love on Her Arms. All kinds of information about on there, anything related to Veterans Affairs, addiction, grief support, trauma, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, suicide, self-injury. You know, it's there. There's information about that on that website. So I would strongly recommend going there, TWLOHA.com. Listen, you might sit there and go, well, this information's not really for me, but maybe in the long run, it could be for somebody that you know, or it's somewhere of general guidance for information. That's TWLOHA.com. To Right Love on Her Arms. Let's talk about some things that are going on inside of the news. That old age question for those about to pop the question is, how much should you spend on an engagement ring and wedding rings? Well, you probably heard 2 to 3 months salary as a rule of thumb. Spoiler alert, that's according to people who sell rings. But according to a new research where you should really be careful how much money you spend on the actual wedding. Why? The study published in the Journal of Economic Inquiry asked the survey participants about their wedding expenses and their engagement ring costs, as well as the length of their marriage. Here's what some of the researchers found. Engagement ring expenditures were largely unrelated to how long the marriage will last. For those who spent at least weddings itself less than $1,000 specifically, actually had a lower risk of divorce. By contrast, the most expensive wedding there was $20,000 were linked to greater risk of divorce. The researchers suggest that it is possible that the more expensive wedding may be linked to taking on more debt, and it turns out that it's stress about how to pay it off. And the person who is on the hook for the vast majority of my daughter's upcoming wedding costs, I'll definitely be sharing this story with them. And I'll definitely spend too much money on a wedding as number 227 of the list of things that I'll never have to worry about. So there you go. So some things to think about. That is for sure. So what does this make you think? I mean, I'm just asking the question to ask because, if I did anything else, I wouldn't know what exactly to do. But hey, it's always a question to think about, for sure.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, Rated R Safety Show, still hanging out, talking about some things, because why would we not do that? And you can't do that. Take a listen to this real quick. Colorado lawmakers are shooting down the bill that would grant parenthood status to embryos and fetuses. Republican State Representative Scott Bottoms of Colorado Springs, who is the bill's only sponsor, says that he believes that a mother's deciding that they don't want their child is evil.
I am going to move the conversation because anytime you speak truth to that darkness, you actually push that darkness backwards.
The bill sought to classify an embryo or a fetus as a person and allow prosecutors to criminally charge mothers for getting abortions. According to the bill, mothers who are charged with first-degree murder could use defense of duress. It is also states that the judge in Colorado who overrules any provision of the bill will be subject to impeachment. The bill was voted down by the House State Civic, Military and Veterans Affairs Committee Monday night as lawmakers voted 8-3 to postpone it indefinitely. Bottoms has to introduce nearly an identical bill last year, which also failed. Claudia Perez with Planned Parenthood says that the Rocky Mountains says the bill went too far and would have dire consequences.
The reasons we're concerned about that at Planned Parenthood is that bills like these are abortion ban bills, and they seek to strip away access to care for Coloradans.
So a lot of information there, a lot of things to talk about as you take a look at that one. No doubt about that, because listen, people are going to have different perspectives on this matter because, hey, this has been different perspective matters for quite some time. Take a listen to this when a New Jersey high school teacher is under arrest accused of hitting a girl during an in-school fight. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Andrew Whitman has more.
It happened in late January, but 68-year-old Joseph Mingoya wasn't arrested until Friday. He's charged with endangering the welfare and assault. Prosecutors say the Bayonne High educator was part of a group of teachers who moved in on a fight between two students, but that he struck one of the girls with a closed hand while doing so. He's been on leave since the incident and is due back in court in late March. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
I mean, I want to have a better understanding. Did he just go in swinging? Because if that's the case, that's a different story. Now, if he was protecting himself, well, then we might have some different conversations there on things that we think about. There is no doubt about that. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk about something a little bit more positive in our life. Yeah, no doubt there. Let's bring some John Smalls in and go from there.
The Motivation Minute is possible with support from GenesisGoldIRA.com.
The Motivation Minute.
Today's quote was submitted by Bill. Emile Zola said, "We are like books. Most people only see our cover. The minority will read the introduction. Many people believe the critics. Few will know our content." How true that was when it was said, and I'll bet it's even more true today. Come on, you've done it. Someone makes a comment on social media, so you click on their profile to see who would say such a thing. Then you gather enough information, you think, from their profile photo and the things they like, and maybe a little bit from their About section, and you've made up your mind, right? Oh, just me? I know I've done it, and have been wrong, too. I learned that when I really met them and got to know them. That's a much better plan, by the way.
The Motivation Minute.
This has been today's Motivation Minute, made possible with support from GenesisGoldIRA.com. I'm John Small. Your favorite quotes can be submitted at motivationminute.org.
An Alabama Supreme Court ruling which said that frozen embryos created through in vitro fertilization are legally considered children has set off alarm bells in other Republican-controlled states. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says this is an important issue.
Texas is a pro-life state, and what that means in part is we want to promote life and promote parents having more children.
But there are reports, though, that some Texas women are looking to move their frozen embryos to a facility in a different state. The debate over IVF started with some religious groups calling for restrictions. The two largest pharmacy chains in the U.S. will begin selling abortion pills as soon as this month. Walgreens and CVS will start selling mifepristone at certain pharmacies in states where it's legal to do so. The two companies received certification notification from the FDA to dispense the pill. The chains will not provide it by mail. Health updates, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
It's this show, and they just make fun of a whole bunch of people. It's just too funny. It's too stupid.
Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, yes, too stupid for the smart people, that's for sure, as we are hanging out. You know, I always look at this and go, man, are we really that crazy on everything that we do? I guess it is, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk about some things that happened back on this date. Oh, yes, back in 2013, President Obama hits a new low approval rating, losing 7 points over the course of a week to 46%, just weeks after his second inauguration. The dip followed the failure for Congress and the White House to broker a deal that would prevent the sequester, meanwhile, his disapproval rating also spiked up 6 points from 40 to 46%. So there you go. Let's talk about some birthdays that are going on today. Madison Beer turns 25. Mario Bautista turns 28. Michael Evans also turns 26. Sterling Knight, 35. Matt Lucas and Kevin Conley turns 50. Eva Mendes also turns 50. Let's see. Michael Irvin, former football player, turns 58. Joel Osteen turns 61. Ben Gillette, 69. Scott Swift. Why is Taylor Swift's dad inside of this mess? Turned 72. And Bernard Assault. Yeah, he turned 75 today, just in case if you were looking for some birthdays. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, so let's see. Unique Names Day, Dissociative Identity Disorder Awareness Days, National Cheese Doodle Day, and National Sportsmanship Day. So, days to celebrate. Celebration of days. There you go. A combination of the world of the things that you're looking for. No doubt about that. So, there you go. What do you think? You enjoying it? Good. You enjoy those because they're going to be important. Let's continue talking just a smidgen more. If you need a random joke for today, well, I think I have one of those for you. Being an adult is like folding a fitted sheet. No one really knows how. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. If you need a phone starter today, try this. Without saying the word ring, what is something that is precious that you'd fish out of a public toilet with your bare hands? I think some people are going to say their phone. There is no doubt that there's some people that are going to say phone. I am just throwing that out there. Also, let's talk about this lovely place. Question: Michigan State University researchers determined that every time you eat this food, it increases your life expectancy by 33 minutes. What is it? And I did say increase, not decrease. A peanut butter and jam sandwich. Some people call it jelly. Apparently, they just want a jam. So there you go. So with that being said, that's going to sum up our time together at the top of the hour. I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out over there. If you stay on the likes of Safety FM, I want you to keep this in mind. Safety FM will be Sheldon Primus talking about the business of safety consulting. That's what goes on now. Here we guys at the top of the hour. That's if you're listening to this on the live version, just in case. Because when this thing reruns, I'm not 100% if Sheldon comes on right after me. But this is neither here nor there. Anyways, thank you for always being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener, because without you, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do what we do around here. If I can't leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe. Yeah, think about that. Paying a debt that you don't know. So there you go. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.